crafters, and welcome back to the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from Designs by Dee, and today I have a fun card to share with you. This week is all about birthdays, birthday celebrations, these types of projects, and my card today is a bit of a mix of products. So I always like mixing different sets, and I want to mix our sweet celebrations and the rose set to create a floral cupcake. So instead of actually having like the base or the breadth of the cupcake kind of being just an oval, I want to make it a rose. And I hope that you like this idea, and I hope that it's something that you'll give a try. So let's get started. I'm using the rose set. This is the Crafty Meraki Artisan Flora die. So this is a layering die set, and I'm just going to cut the two main portions of it, the flower and I actually don't really need the stems, but I will cut the leaves out from some white cardstock. And I'll also do the same thing for the Sweet Celebrations set. So I'm going to need the main cupcake, and I don't really, I don't need the bows and the other florals because we have that main floral as the rose. And then I'm just going to cut out the other little bits like the strawberry, the cherry, the whipped cream, the little like chocolate straws and stuff like that to kind of dress up my flower as if it were the cupcake. Now, because I basically just cut everything out of white, I'm just ink blending and adding inks to these white die cuts so that they can come to life and have more color. If you're not into ink blending like this, I like this because I can use different tones of colors and create a bit of a gradient, which creates more of a 3D effect, I feel. But if you're not into that, you can always go ahead and pick your different colors of cardstock and cut out these dies that way. I'm just going ahead and grabbing some inks that I have on hand. For the strawberry and the cherry, obviously I'm using reds. I chose a very light red in order to create a bit of a highlight on the top right side of those die cuts, and then a deeper red on the left side in order to create a bit of a shadowed area. And that's what I mean by adding the different colors and the tones of ink so that I can create more of that 3D effect. By having the highlights and the lowlights, you get more of that going on. So I kind of chose my colors and did the colors that I have in the die cuts in one go. So I did the strawberry and the cherry together because those are red. Now I'm doing all the browns. There are a ton of browns for like the chocolate straws. I'm using, it's funny because the inks I'm using, they actually have like food colors for them. So I have milk chocolate, I've got dark chocolate, I've got vanilla. So they actually pair really well. And again, I'm using the lighter tones of brown and the darker tones just to create a bit of a gradient. I am putting more of the darker color on one side of my die cut and lighter color on the other side of my die cut. You could always choose to mix colors depending on the type of decorations you want on your card. For example, instead of doing the chocolate straws as chocolate straws, I could have used like a pink and a purple or something like that. It's really what you want it to be. So just pick your colors accordingly. I went with like a more realistic feel for these decorations versus just having a fun feel with different colors. But it's up to you. Do what you want. Now I'm taking some gray to kind of just add a little bit of a highlight on the edge of the bottom of the cupcake. And I'm adding a little bit of pink too, just to kind of pull in a bit of that red. And the gray works well for also that whipped cream. You could also use like a light blue depending on what your color scheme is. Now I normally kind of pull all of these die cuts off and then assemble them separately, but because there are a lot of little pieces, like for example the little sections of the chocolate straw, I'm going to pull them off and put them together as I go. Now you can see for the whipped cream I've already put the wrong section at the bottom. No problem. I'm just going to pull it off gently and then put them in the right place. I almost kind of scrapped that and went and cut another one out, but it came off nicely, so that worked out well. And I don't always keep mistakes like that in my videos. I kept it in here, and I've kind of learned keep it in because sometimes people like to see. It's very easy for this whipped cream portion to kind of mix up the different layers, especially if you're in a rush like I was. You can always look at the layering guide and the packaging to kind of get an idea of where things go and how to layer up your dies. But I'm also a believer in not following the rules. So sometimes I put these layering dies together. I definitely don't always look at the packaging. I think I did in this case for the rose, but sometimes I don't do that. And I just kind of make things fit together. And I feel like that's kind of part of the process because sometimes it creates a more unique flower or layered die cut in the end that you probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So I'm just continuing along and I'm kind of picking up these pieces. Now keep in mind, you'll see here I'm using my tweezers on my sticky mat there. I'm being very careful not to poke those tweezers into that mat because I don't want to create and cut little holes into it. So you might kind of be wondering, oh my God, she's using a really pokey thing on that mat, but don't worry about it. I was being very careful. If you're worried about that, just go ahead and pull it up with your fingers instead of using a set of tweezers like I am here. So I think the most complicated thing to put together was these chocolate straws, and only because the little sections of the straw are a little more finicky to put together. And also, if you're using a liquid glue, it takes a little while for it to set so it doesn't stick right away. But I do also like that because then I can kind of move things around in case I don't get it right when I stick it on the first time. And you'll notice I'm using my Bling Buddy here, which is perfect for these small little dies. So they're not only perfect for placing embellishments, they're good for little die cuts as well. So now that we've got all the decorations for our cupcake all done, we can go ahead and add some ink color to the rose. So since I kept the decorations pretty standard, like, my strawberries red, they're the colors that they're expected to be, I went a little different and had a little bit more fun with the rose. And so I've kind of put these layers on here based on that layering guide I just showed you, and I've put them in order. So they kind of go left to right in the order that they would stack together. And I'm going to alternate colors for the most part based on where these layers go so that I can have one layer purple and one layer red, and then that way it creates a bit of fun, a bit more contrast in between the layers. And I thought, I don't know, I envisioned the purple and the red rose, so I was just trying to make it come to life here. If you don't like this idea of the purple and the red, which I can agree it's something you might have to get used to because the colors are pretty different, you could just use a darker tone and a lighter tone. So say maybe I'm doing a blue flower, I would do a darker blue on the first layer, a lighter blue on the second layer, darker on the third, and so on and so forth. And then it looks kind of weird now, but once it all comes together, it actually looks really nice. So I'm not only adding the purple and the red to the layers of the rose, but then I've also got those two fronds of the leaves, which I'll also be adding color to. And then again with the leaves, I stuck with the, normal color combo, and I went with some greens. Now, I always seem to get to the question that, or comment, like, why would you cut everything out of white and then add ink? Isn't it faster and easier to just cut the color the color of cardstock that you want to use? And I mean, it's really up to you. I find that my brain kind of it gets slow when I'm sorting through all of my cardstock colors and I'm trying to find the cardstocks and then stick them with the right dies and cut them all out. So I just tend to kind of default to using the white because it's just easier for me. It's easier for me to die cut everything out and then figure out the colors afterward. Another option is if you do like the ink blending effect, but you don't want to be ink blending your entire everything, like for example that first layer of the rose is pretty big, right? I would suggest picking a color that's like a lighter tone of what you want to use, and then you can also use a darker ink color and then just add darkened areas where you want it, so you don't actually have to add ink to the entire die cut. So now I'm actually putting this together layer by layer, just like I did with the decorations for the cupcake. And I'm pulling it right off of my sticky mat, which I find is actually, it comes in handy. It's a little easier because I don't have to mess with all the little pieces too much and I can see it all. This actually works out better. And as you go along, you'll also find that you do different things, do things different ways. You'll find better techniques and strategies that work for you. So for the most part, for the bottom layers, I added them with foam adhesive just to give it a bit of a 3D effect and give it some dimension. And then for the layers that are on the top, especially the smaller layers like this one I'm adding here, which is like a fold over of the petal, I'm just adding that with liquid adhesive because it doesn't really need to be lifted off the other layer of cardstock there. Now, because I added multiple layers of that foam on the bottom there, for this top petal, I did add 2 layers of foam so that it would still kind of sit above the other layers. So for my background, I'm using the Meraki Shimmer Stellar Sparkle hot foil plate, and I'm using some gold foil in order to foil this on some light pink cardstock. So while I'm putting this together, I'm kind of making sure that my hot plate is heating up. And then I kind of like to use the sandwich method of kind of doing the foiling. So I kind of tape my cardstock to my plate, and then I add the foil in between, and then I'll kind of add some more tape on the other side and foil. So now that we've got it all foiled, I did cut it down just a little bit to center the pattern, and it also was a tiny bit wonky, so that also helped me kind of straighten out the pattern. Now I'm just attaching it to my white A2 sized card base. I've got my sentiment here. Now this was actually from a past crafting session where I had basically used the gilded greetings set. I foiled it and cut them all out. So I've just kind of grabbed the happy birthday sentiment from a past session. So that's why you're not seeing me foil it here. But you know, it's pretty straightforward. Foil, cut, and you're ready to go. And now I'll just assemble everything. So I don't know about you, but I pretty much feel like card making has like 3 main steps. The first is to kind of die cut everything, stamp out everything. The second is to add all the color. Okay, maybe 4 steps. The third step is to get your background done. And then the fourth step is to basically assemble everything, which is my favorite part. So here I've added that floral on top of the cupcake bottom. And you can see that I think that by itself looks pretty cool. I've added the whipped cream kind of coming out of the rose. I've added the little chocolate square, and now I'm adding the chocolate straws. Now I'll also grab the leaves and have them kind of sticking out from the flower on either side. There's like a smaller frond and a larger frond, which looks perfect with this. And then I'll add my little strawberry in there. So in the end, I didn't end up using that cherry. I felt that it was just a little bit too much if I were to put that on top of that whipped cream. Plus, it kind of blocks too much of it. So I opted to kind of keep that for another project and use the strawberry only. Now I'm attaching the sentiment with some foam adhesive. And then the final step, you can always skip this if you're not really a bling person, but I love bling. So I've got some ivory opal gems here, and I just thought it would kind of play on the white that we have in the sentiment at the bottom of the cupcake and the cream. And I'm just adding a few bits of these ivory opal gems here and there just to create a little bit of interest and shine. So that's my card for today. I hope this fun idea of mixing your floral dies with your cupcake dies really comes in handy, and you'll want to try doing something similar yourself. Everything I've used is linked in the description below. Don't forget to check out the Crafty Meraki store, and like and subscribe. See you again next time. Bye.